Hello, welcome to this update for the Atlantic. So let's see what's happening because we now have potential tropical cyclone 4 there, located in Cuba. So let's see first what they currently have on this cyclone. So it's not a cyclone yet, it's still a disturbance, but it's forecast to become a tropical depression as it goes off Cuba, and a tropical storm in the Gulf there, and go into Florida as a tropical storm and approach the Carolinas. So I still think this track will change a lot because many models showed some other directions, but this is what the official track currently has. There I have tropical storm watches for the Florida Keys and southern Florida, tropical storm watches for the central Florida coast there, and tropical storm warnings already in southwestern Florida coast. So be aware in those areas. Let's see the tropical storm force wind speed probabilities. So it shows some high probabilities in the ocean, but more some over Florida there, especially northwestern Florida as it goes there. Passes like the Big Bend and goes towards the Atlantic. So let's see. And the 50 knot, wait, let's see here, tropical storm. And the 50 knot wind speed probabilities is still very low for now because 50 knots is almost a hurricane, but there's still some low probabilities there. So let's see the arrival time. So let's see, by the Florida Keys about Saturday morning, some winds, tropical storm, or I think it will still be a tropical depression in the Florida Keys, but some tropical depression winds there by 8 p.m. in the central Florida coast, and by 8 a.m. Sunday the tropical storm force winds there in the Big Bend and other parts of the west coast and central Florida. So be aware there. So the rainfall estimates from them, they have as locally some areas in orange, like 8 to 12 inches, that area in orange there, and the areas in yellow and light orange are like some 4 to 6 inches in yellow and 6 to 8 inches in the light orange. So some heavy rain coming with this. And the main thing is the flash flooding potential with that rain. There might be a moderate risk, but it's still a slight for now. Well, let's see here what else. So we have the warnings there, but no sustained winds yet of tropical storm. And this is the current storm surge forecast, so about 1 to 3 feet throughout the Florida west coast and even the southern coast. So be aware, this will get updated many times, especially if this makes landfall in northern Florida. But for now they have like 1 to 3 feet in the central Florida coast of storm surge. So be aware there. Let's see the information we currently have. So it's there in Cuba now, bringing some very heavy rain and storms. So please make sure you're safe there. This is a very dangerous situation. The track, let's see, the low pressure center in Cuba, and then global and hurricane models, like most take this towards Florida there, making landfall like in the west coast. Some go to the panhandle, but most go through the northwestern coast there. And some other models basically all go in that direction. So, and some crazy models try to curve it later towards Alabama and Georgia, but it's probably just going to curve and head out into the Atlantic. And the GPS ensembles mainly take this in that general track, with some other ones showing different things. And now the intensity guidance, mainly a tropical storm. Some are even below tropical storm, but eventually all the models reach tropical storm strength with this. Some crazy model or two shows hurricane strength, but it will be mainly a tropical storm. So this shows many models have a tropical storm as early as like 24 hours, but mainly like about 36 to 48 hours it might be a tropical storm already. So basically all models have a tropical storm strength on this system. So let's see here what else. So this is the Euro ensembles here. So let's see. Wait. Let's see if it works. Okay. It's not working, so let's see some other things. This is the tropical storm probabilities, like including cyclone genesis. So tropical cyclone genesis, it has some decent probabilities there. So this is just tropical storm probabilities. It already has that blue is 60 to 70% chance of a tropical storm there in the northwestern Florida, and then some other decent probabilities around it. Later it grows a little bit, the 60 to 70% chance there. It goes into Florida and southern Georgia, and then it weakens a little bit, but because it will be overland, but it still shows some decent probabilities there. And as it gets out into the Atlantic, those probabilities start rising again. So there on the East Coast patch, some 60 to 70% chance a tropical storm. Then it keeps going there and weakening into the northeast, potentially affecting many portions of the southeast coast and the Atlantic Canada later. So this is tropical storm strength. Let's see just tropical depression strength, tropical cyclone. So tropical depression strength is already 100% chance there. That purple is 100% chance of cyclone genesis. Like this is put to like tropical depression strength. So nearly 100% chance of a tropical depression. So let's see. This is like August 5th and August 6th, still 100% chance there of tropical cyclone. And there by August 7th, still 100% chance there in Florida of tropical depression. It keeps going, weakens a little bit because it'll be overland, but let's see, it keeps going. And some decent probability still on the Atlantic, like 60 to 80% chance in that blue there in the Atlantic. Then it keeps going, the probabilities start weakening as it moves to the northeast there. But this is really, really certain. Let's see what else. Does this include Cuba? No, I'll show you a rainfall forecast for Cuba soon. So let's see. This isn't working. So this is like tropical storm probabilities for this week. It has a little less probabilities than the other thing I showed you, but it still has some like 5 to 10% tropical storm probabilities there, but it has more near the east coast. And then it keeps going, and yeah, but let's focus on this forecast for now. But let's see here. So there's still all those dangerous storms and heavy rains in Cuba there, and then they keep going, and then the system is forecast to cross through like western Cuba, like going through Cuba and leaving into the Florida Keys. So let's see here. The rainfall accumulation from the European the next 24 hours still has a lot in Cuba because of the storms. So some areas of 45, 38, 20 millimeters, but not anything crazy. But some of these thunderstorms can be locally heavy and have like very heavy rain, flash flooding, and strong winds. Next 3 days, it keeps going, maybe strengthening a little bit. So already some 98 millimeters in the Florida Keys there, almost 100 millimeters the next 3 days. Then it keeps going. Parts of western Florida get more than 100 millimeters for portions of western Florida. 133 millimeters around Sarasota, Bradenton. Downtown Tampa is a little bit better because it's farther away from the coast. But St. Petersburg and Clearwater might get more than 100 millimeters in the next 2 days. So let's see, more than 100 millimeters throughout the coast there. But further inland, like Orlando and those areas, are only like 44 millimeters because the system will go like further north. But still some storms there, be aware. And there is 123, 136 millimeters as it starts going to Florida. In southern Florida, Miami is kind of fine, about 62 millimeters, 50 millimeters from more storms there, but nothing crazy. A little bit more in southern Florida. And then in the next 5 days, as this makes landfall in Florida, it has more than 137 millimeters, 132, 123, 119, 128 millimeters, and let's see, through parts of Jacksonville, 111 millimeters, more there along the coast, but especially in Georgia there, as this curves into the Atlantic, might leave a lot of heavy rain in Georgia there, close to 200 millimeters in the next 5 days there in Georgia, so please be careful there. And then more in the Carolinas too, it shows there. Let's see, the next 10 days as this curves out, it shows more in South Carolina, North Carolina there. And take a look at South Carolina. In the next 10 days, it has more than 353 millimeters in parts of South Carolina. So this is 10 days, it's very long range, so it will change 100 times. But in the shorter range, in the next 5 days, shows more than 200 millimeters in South Carolina, just in the next 5 days. So let's see, eventually as this curves, there might be a little bit more rain parts of the mid-Atlantic. Some areas are showing more than 100 millimeters as this curves there, but let's see. Georgia, some other areas of central Georgia might get more, but let's see the GFS. So that was the European. The GFS has more in Cuba there from the storms, a little bit in Florida, but way less in Florida. The European has like way more there in Florida in the next 5 days. The GFS is focusing on the East Coast. So in Georgia, it already has more than 144 millimeters. North Carolina, more than 200 millimeters the GFS has in the next 5 days. So be aware. I think this will be bigger for Florida, but it might affect very well the Carolinas too. So let's see the icon. The icon has, just like the Euro, a lot through the west coast of Florida the next 5 days, right through the west coast, more than 100, 200 millimeters. Then it crosses through northern Florida, more than 100 millimeters. But then the icon has gone really crazy with the east coast. So Georgia in the next 5 days shows more than 100 millimeters, even 300. And for South Carolina, just in the next 5 days, it has more than 400 millimeters for South Carolina, just in the next 5 days there. I don't think this much rain will happen, but you never know. More than 223 in parts of North Carolina there. So yeah, we gotta keep monitoring this. Let's see. The European, it also shows more storms in the Bahamas, but only a little bit compared to Florida. And let's see some models now. So let's see. First, so he has, the GFS has this coming off Cuba and going to Florida is potentially like a tropical storm there into Florida, curving out, affecting Georgia, South Carolina, scraping North Carolina. And then the GFS has this strengthening and hanging in longer in North Carolina there in the Outer Banks. So this will be a very bad scenario, but honestly, I don't think this will happen, but you never know. So it keeps going there and moves northeast and affects Canada and parts of the East Coast with some more rain. This is the 12Z GFS. The 0Z GFS had this coming off Cuba, going to Florida like a tropical storm, curving out there, and then also strengthening a lot there, but a little farther away from the coast, and then going out. The European 12Z from today has it there, approaching Florida, but very weak. The European has this like tropical depression, barely a tropical storm, but eventually it gets itself going there. But the operational European is very weak. and then it keeps going and strengthens more in the Atlantic there, off the southeast, gets like to tropical storm there, and the European eventually has this making landfall in South Carolina and Georgia there, and then dissipating. So this is a possible scenario too. The 0Z European had it coming off Cuba there, and then going very weak, like barely nothing through Florida, because the ensembles and the probabilities from the European are showing like tropical storm, but the operation was barely showing anything. It's weird, but it gets itself going near the southeast there and goes into North Carolina, and then leaves. So that was the 0Z European there. Let's see here. Just another model here. The Canadian model has this going as a tropical storm into northwestern Florida there, affecting southern Georgia, crossing through Georgia, South Carolina there, North Carolina, and eventually get into the Atlantic again. So this is the latest Canadian. The icon has, let's see, it has a going there, getting to a tropical storm in Florida, crossing through southern Georgia, South Carolina, hanging there and strengthening. The icon has this strengthening, pulling through North Carolina there, and then leaving. But yeah, this would be a worse scenario for the East Coast. So let's see. The Neptune has this going there, very weak over Florida, but trying to form the Atlantic there again, and then going into the Outer Banks and then leaving. So this is the Neptune. But of course, let's see if we can get some hurricane models. But it isn't showing here, like, wait, here, so the HEFS-A has it. So this is the HEFS-A hurricane model. It keeps going. The storm is in Cuba, and then it leaves Cuba there, passes through the Florida Keys and starts strengthening, possibly into a tropical storm, and makes landfall the northwestern Gulf Coast of Florida there as a tropical storm, and then goes into Georgia and scrapes South Carolina and North Carolina there, and then leaves. But yeah, it also has it affecting like Florida and the southeast. So let's see. The HEFS-B, it has it crossing over Cuba there. The storm is in Cuba, and then it keeps going, strengthens to like a tropical storm there, and like a moderate tropical storm as it goes into Florida, then scrapes Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina too. So yeah, let's see what else. If there's any other model here. Maybe here. Let's see. Wait, let's see. Hurricane here. So let's see. Here, so I think I found it for the other hurricane model. So as you go 30 hours out, it's there over the Florida Keys as a like tropical depression maybe, or trying to organize, and then this model has it closer to the west coast of Florida as a tropical storm already by Sunday there. Then we keep going through this. Wait, I went a little bit too far. So it has a make landfall more in central Florida. All the models have a make landfall in the Big Bend in northern Florida. This model has a make landfall in central Florida there, and then it keeps going. It exits into the Atlantic and passes very close there to Georgia, to South Carolina, and eventually affects North Carolina there too. So the Carolinas gotta monitor this very closely too, but especially Florida. Let's see here. This other hurricane model. So it has the storm there, and then the next 24 hours it's like still weak, exiting Cuba. The next 42 hours it's trying to organize in the Gulf. Let's see, next 60 hours it already went over Florida there, so this has it weak, make landfall more like Central Florida too. So let's go back to, wait, sorry. So let's see what else we can find here. I just want to show you one more model, and then this is it. Let's see. Where is it? Here, so let's see now. So this is the UK model. It also has it organized in the Gulf, but very weak, getting like a weak tropical depression or weak tropical storm there in the Gulf, going into northwestern Florida. So let's see, it goes into Florida there, and then later it leaves into the Atlantic over Georgia and South Carolina there. So this is the UK model. Let's see what else. So let's see some other rainfall maybe. So this is the NEM, the rainfall from the NEM in the next 60 hours. So it has more than 200 millimeters in parts of southern Florida, central Florida too, a lot. So yeah, this is a little bit higher resolution, so it has more rain there. Let's see the European again. For the rest of the Caribbean, it has more showers, maybe a storm or two in the Lesser Antilles. Next 3 days, next 5 days a little bit more. Northern South America still. In Costa Rica, more thunderstorms and rains. In Panama, more storms too. Some areas of Costa Rica more. Nicaragua, Honduras there. El Salvador, more rain. Guatemala, more rain too, like tropical storms and tropical rains. More rain Belize, a little bit more in southern Belize. And for Mexico there, more rain in parts of western Mexico and southern Mexico there. Especially these foothills of western Mexico might get a lot of rain in the next 24 hours, 3 days and 5 days. So be aware, those areas of western Mexico, some more heavy rains and thunderstorms there. So I already showed you Florida. So this is it, I think. Stay safe there in Florida and Cuba from the storms and everything. And this won't be a very dangerous storm, but it'll just be like a tropical storm. But it will be dangerous anyway, especially because of the heavy rainfall that might cause flooding. So be careful there. Let's just see if I find one more thing to show you. So here. So if this gets a name, it'll be Tropical Storm Debbie. And let's see. So these are some other models here. Some hurricane and global models. So they show this mainly going to northwestern Florida, some going to central Florida like I showed you, but most going to northwestern Florida there. And this don't mind this model is crazy. So it's mainly those ones there. In the late cycle, most models go there into Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, and there North Carolina. Go watch these two. So stay safe there and warn others. Let's see. So this is the current outlook, and we're watching some other tropical waves there in the Atlantic. Who knows if we get another area of investigation there. So this is the Pacific. There's Hurricane Carlota, category 1 there now, and that area at high chance of development already and moderate chance in the other area, but there's 50% in that area, and the highest area 90% chance already for that red area there. So all of the systems are going out to sea there, but yeah, this is mainly it, so be aware. Let's see here. In the Western Pacific, still no cyclones to watch, and this is the path of Hurricane Carlota here. So stay safe in Cuba and Florida, and we'll keep monitoring it.